and gentlemen, distinguished candidates, welcome to the 2010 Ocean Pines Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Ocean Pines Association. I'm Diane McGraw, and I'm the chair of the OPA Elections Committee, and I will lead the forum tonight. Before we will begin, I ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones out of courtesy for the candidates and the audience. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The 2010 OPA election involves voting for candidates to fill 3 positions on the board of directors. Here are our 5 candidates as they are seated before you. Starting in the far right, I would like to introduce Tom Terry, Richard Handelman, Dave Stevens, Jean Lyman, and Ray Unger. These are your candidates. The candidates participated in a blind drawing on June 11th with the Ocean Pines Election Committee to determine their position on the ballot and at today's forum. You'll notice that they're not in alphabetical order. They're actually in positions 1 to 5 based upon that draw. I'd like to introduce the Elections Committee members, and there's Mary Kay Allgood. Where'd she go? Mary Kay? She's out there. Kay Gibbons, Kathy Munsey, John, where are you, Topper? It was our committee that decided to change this year's forum somewhat. We asked residents to submit questions in advance by telephone and email. We received 1 question by telephone and 6 questions by email. The format of the forum this year is different as well. At the beginning of the forum, each candidate will make an opening statement limited to 3 minutes. A 30-second, actually we're going to do a 1-minute warning and a 30-second warning will be given by our timekeeper and assistant. Our timekeepers today is Olga Ferosic and her assistant Vince Ferosic. We appreciate your time and volunteering today. Then we're going to ask the candidates questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the same question. These questions came from our committee. Then we're going to alternate it with a special session where we will be picking numbers out of the little basket, and one candidate will pick a number of another candidate, and that candidate will be able to ask another candidate a specific question or a general question. Same time stipulation, 2 minutes. So in the case of questions, the first question is going to go to Tom Terry. Remaining candidates will then answer the same question in the order, starting with the candidate on Tom's left. Yeah, we've switched the table. Consequent questions will then be rotated in the order in which candidates are seated, moving systematically to each candidate's left. This will allow each candidate an opportunity to be first in answering the remaining questions at the At the conclusion of the residents' questions, we're going to also do whether it's really good or not.
Turn that one off.
I did.
Yeah, turn them both all the way off, to the left.
I did.
Okay.
So after we have the candidates asking each of the candidates questions, or one candidate asking another, we will conclude with the last segment, which will be the residents' questions that came in. Here again, they'll be limited to 2 minutes, and it'll rotate down the line. We project the forum to last approximately till 9 p.m. That each candidate will issue a closing statement of 3 minutes or less. So shall we begin?
Is this working? No.
Tom?
Both to the right, Tom.
I did. How about now?
No.
Hello?
I'll talk without it.
Your Tom's going to be, just turn one off. Maybe this one, just one want to work. Yeah, let me turn that one off.
Okay.
I think it's blank.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Tom Terry. I want to thank the Election Committee for providing this opportunity. I also want to thank you all for coming out this evening. Your interest in our community is absolutely vital to its success. Like many of you, I was first a visitor at Ocean Pines for years, and then a landowner, and finally a homeowner. I've seen the Pines from many viewpoints. Some of you know I've worked in economic development around the country, and in taking all the facilities of Ocean Pines as a whole, you have one of the top residential centers on the East Coast of the United States right here. We picked a good place to live. My firm currently is providing some pro bono direction for an assessment of each of the amenities and each of the products for Ocean Pines. One of those products is going to be a microphone here, I think. And the idea here is to work up and assess each product so that we have an integrated approach to marketing. You can't hear?
Stand up and talk.
I'm just going to stand up and talk. How's that? Okay. My firm is currently looking at all of the products and services of Ocean Pines, assessing their profitability, their marketability, how they're being integrated with each other to promote the Pines, so that each of our amenities is assessed fully, so we can come up with an integrated marketing and product approach for our citizens. Each amenity, as it is a part of an overall whole of the Pines. But individually, each one of those amenities needs to perform as effectively as it possibly can as a part of the total picture of our community. I want you to know I support the direction that the current board is going in looking at long-term planning, implementing the 10-year task force suggestions. I want to make sure that that kind of approach continues if I'm elected to the board. I also want to tell you, I want to avoid band-aiding facilities, if at all possible, when it comes to making them better and repairing them. In these challenging times, Ocean Pines needs to have leadership that's going to vigorously evaluate every dollar, every goal, to assure that the Pines remains a viable community going forward. I see 4 issues clearly facing us as a community. One is we need to increase the revenue that is coming from owner and guest usage of our amenities. Not just cut costs, but also increase revenue. We need to take care of a $400,000 shortfall in state money. We need to continue the critical assessment of the yacht club and the golf course to make sure that we make good, solid decisions based on real objectives and measurements. And again, I want to make sure we stay focused on the long-term planning approach. Many of you don't know me. I grew up in an economically challenging period of time, and I've worked my way through multiple community and corporate positions.
We have to stop at 3
Well,
minutes.
okay.
I gave
Thank you.
10 seconds.
Okay, Richard.
Is it working?
Yes.
Yes.
Your opening statement. It's your opening statement.
Right.
Right.
Hi, my name is Richard Handelman. I've lived in the Pines about 9 years. I want to be, I guess that's what I meant. People are constantly asking me, with all on your plate, why do you want to do this? And they say, tell me it's a thankless job. They tell me everybody's going to hate me, at least half the people. Gee, it sounds like a great position. But I believe in responsibility. I've taken responsibility all my life for things that go on around my world. This is my world. I'm financial as well as a social interest here. I live here, I work here, I do a lot of things here. I want to be involved making decisions. People I see in business all the time are not decision makers. You need decision makers on the board. People who are involved in business, people who are involved in planning, people who are involved in making budgets and real-time decisions. I'm a leader who does, not a leader who talks. We must have fiscal responsibility. I don't know of any business in the world that can lose money for years and years and still continue. The board has come a long way in the last couple of years, but there still needs to be some more responsibility and some long-range planning. I agree with Tom in that we have made a lot of progress. The board's going in a good direction. However, things are new faces. And being on the younger side of this crowd, I think that it would be good to have some variety. I wish that we had more time to evaluate things, but things are becoming critical. The art club, the country club, the pools, all those things. The issues need to be addressed now, not later. Thank you.
Careful, young guy, you're outnumbered. It hardly seems like 3 years ago that I stood in approximately this spot, although in appreciably dowdier surroundings, and asked for your vote to run for the board, which shows, time does really fly when you're having fun. Now that I've announced that I'm running for re-election, I guess the question that I've been most often asked is why? Or why, perhaps. And the official reason for publication is that I do think we've made a lot of progress, and I'd like to help see it continue. Another reason, perhaps, is by way of explaining that, let me introduce my wife, Mary, who is sitting right back there. Wave your hand, Mary. That's it. Mary is more involved in more community affairs than I can count. And when you retire, as we did 9 years ago to Ocean Pines, with a woman to whom you've been married for 48 years, a very active woman, it's a rule of life that if you don't find something to do, she'll find it for you. The other question that actually wasn't asked, although I kind of anticipated it, is, well, if you've been on the board for 3 years, what did you accomplish? And in reality, the short answer is nothing by myself. I served on a board with, at various times with 9 other directors who all brought different skills, talents, perspectives, and in some cases maybe attitude towards their job, and they all participated. I worked with the general manager and a staff, a hardworking staff, and countless, literally dozens of resident volunteers who served on all kinds of committees. But still, out of my own curiosity, I said, well, what did we do? And just sort of to try to jot them down. And there is, over on the table there, kind of the results of my effort. It's a fairly long list, but it's not by any means a finished job. We all know that, and we're aware of that. But on the other hand, I think it's pretty important, before you can figure out where you're going forward, to know where you've been and where you are. And I'd like to thank you all very much for coming and listening tonight.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Gene Lyman. My wife isn't here with us tonight. Unfortunately, she's a very accomplished golfer, and she had a more important tournament today, so she may get here yet. We hope so. I'm new to the Pines, 2007. This is the first time I've ever done anything oriented toward running for office anywhere. Why am I doing that? Because I've become very concerned about the condition of the Pines. I am firmly convinced that we are creating an adverse environment with respect to the desirability of the Pines because of our amenity losses. And that's it, with our amenity losses. I have 3 short-term thoughts on what we could do to deal with these amenity losses. First, the enclosed pool. I would put that to a referendum to the members, that they vote whether or not they want to keep it open. Second, the golf course loses $200,000 a year. They make $1.1 million and they spend $1.3. Why do they lose it? because there is no management control over the outcome. Golf courses all over the country are making it with incomes of 1.1 million or less. There's just a simple failure of management control. It's both by the board and the general manager. I don't know why the board ever even came close to allowing that to happen the last member. The final problem, or final short-term project, is the golf course drainage project. When it first came about, my memory was that it was supposed to cost $125,000 a year for on the order of 10 years to do this. This year, there was an announcement in the paper that the golf course drainage project was costing over $400,000 a year. And where did this number come from? Is this an anomaly, or maybe this is an expression of a four-term thing? No, it turns out the latest message I heard is this is $400,000 a year continuously for the remaining of the project. I believe that this is a complete perturbation or bad display of what we're supposed to do here, and this should have been put into the facility or the 10-year plan. Right now, I would terminate it and take care of it through that. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background. I'm an engineer. I work for NASA. My approach to life is you don't fix a problem if you can't identify it. I believe the problem we have in the Pines is we have too expensive affinities, and I'll talk later about what we might do about that. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks, everybody, for coming. My name is Ray Hunker. My family and I have lived here in the Pines for about 13 years, simply because we love the place. A lot of things that we're looking at right now is on a very negative level, especially in our current economic times. But we have to stop and remember one thing. Ocean Pines, financially, is pretty much the envy of most communities on the Eastern Shore. We're sitting on $42 million of unencumbered assets. Our losses compared to the total budget of $15 million a year are in the range of $400,000. That's what? A very tiny percent. They have been working on the losses of the yacht club and the golf course and the aquatics for a while, and things are gradually getting better. The thing that I don't want to see happen is a mistake made simply when it was a last-minute decision a couple years ago on a 4-3 vote to put a cover over that over that pool down there. What they did when that happened, not only did the cover go up, and it's a beautiful facility and it's really nice, but it also added about $12,000 a month to the cost of the amenities simply to keep it warm, keep it cool, keep the water and everything up and running. So that's a very expensive project that was put forward down there, and I don't want to see that type of thing happen again here with the upcoming decisions that are going to have to be made on the yacht club. We've put $1.8 million in that building over the last 5 or 6 years on the infrastructure and everything that had to be done with the new elevator construction, with the new floors on the second floor, with the exterior and everything else. And I'm just not ready to throw all that money away and tear it down and build it again. I've talked to several hundred people in this community in the last couple of months in their driveways and their flower beds, and most people are very concerned about the fact that they don't think that the community right now is in the mood to pass a $2.5 million or $2.1 million referendum to take care of the yacht club. That's something that you have to be very careful about looking at, and there's some big decisions that are going to come up. Thank you.
This will begin the question and answer period where each candidate is limited to 2 minutes or less for their question. And we're going to start with candidate number 1 down here, and the same question will be answered by all candidates. Here's your first question. What main issues do you see the Ocean Pines homeowners facing in the next 3 years?
Try that, Ryan. Thank you. One of the biggest challenges is the increasing of revenue into the amenities that we've got, marketing them not only to the folks who live here. I think it's my hand that's doing it. The biggest key for me is to look at generating revenue as well as taking care of costs. We have thousands of people pouring into this community every weekend, be they guests, they're sleeping there that night. There are amenities, there are opportunities here where we can invite them to participate in our community and spend a few dollars with our association at the same way. I'm not looking to market Ocean Pines all over the country. I'm looking to market to our guests and our family members and people who are coming here to visit. The other piece of the challenge, I believe, clearly is the $400,000 that we're losing in state money to take care of our roads and take care of that problem. How are we going to address that? We clearly need to continue the critical assessment of the yacht club, the country club, and combining those two and putting together a strategic plan of what makes sense for an overall community view of what should our amenities be, and answer that question first. What are you doing with it and why? And then you can decide what kind of building, what kind of amenity you want, and what fits into the community. That's the biggest challenge. And beyond that, I think you have to step back. Thank you. You have to step back from the community and realize that we have to listen more. We have to communicate more with the members, with the residents, to understand exactly where they see the problems and where they're coming from, and make sure that when we put together an assessment of something, we're as open and as transparent as we possibly can be to get everybody's input. Thank you.
The question again is, what main issues do you see the Ocean Pines homeowners facing in the next 3 years?
I see the issues being the yacht club, the country club, and the other smaller amenities that we have. I agree with Tom in that when I was trained in medicine, when you first have to make a diagnosis, diagnosis is what's going on here, what's wrong with them, what needs to be done. Then you look at it from an objective point of view. How much are they going to cost? How bad shape they're in. Have an assessment done, and then after that, you can come up with a treatment. The treatment could be anything from tearing down the yacht club to remodeling it. I think the numbers are not out there totally to see what we really should do. I'm not convinced either way. The country club is a big issue with me. It's a building that's old and really not used. Old, unused buildings become a problem. We need to do something else. It would help the golf course also. We have a nice building there. We can help the golf course make that money back. So we have to consider things that would help increase our revenue. In other words, non-resident income. Non-resident income could be a major plus for us. I see people all the time at the yacht club, other facilities we have, who are enjoying them, who don't live here. If you don't live here, you should be paying the price for not living here. We need to take care of our own people, not take care of the outside world. Yeah. Thank you.
We're doing the microphone? No, that's okay. Can you hear me back there?
Next 3 years, maybe. Use the mic. You want the mic?
Okay? Okay. I'll try and get the angle right. The question was,
What main issues do you see the Ocean Pines homeowners facing in the next 3 years?
I was stalling for time, I really remembered it. I believe, and I believed this 3 years ago, I still believe it right now, that the primary issue that we have is to create a financially stable Ocean Pines. I mean, one in which the assessments or the expenditures are not dependent upon the whims of boards as they change from year to year. I think we need planning that goes into the 5 and 10-year period. The planning has many aspects. On the one hand, as has already been suggested, the planning for major facilities. It's not just a feeling, not only knowing what they do, but it's also knowing what we have to do with them. This building you're sitting in here right now was driven not by the fact that we needed a new building or we needed more meeting space or anything like that, or we needed a gymnasium. It was the fact that it was falling down, and we had to do it. The yacht club is in nearly the same condition, and the country club and all of our facilities are 40 years old or thereabouts. That issue and that problem has to be addressed. Now, at the same time, you have to figure out how to pay for it. And if you can go, as the history of Ocean Pines shows, by simply not having an assessment increase because you feel that, well, people really aren't up for it right now, then you're never going to have financial stability. You have to have a plan that makes sense, that's stable, and that's moderate, and that at the same time people can afford. Is that it?
One thing I forgot to mention in my first opening remarks about the golf course drainage project is other Ocean Pine members who do not belong to play golf here anymore could not believe their eyes when they walked over there and saw we were spending $200,000 to redo the driving range. It seemed like a totally senseless expenditure of money. Long term, I do believe there's a need to improve facilities. However, it has to be addressed on the basis of how we handle our amenities. We have an antique system for collecting charges. It's possible that we should look at something new. For example, it should be based on property values rather than the antique system of when we started in early years, $50 a lot, $75 waterfront. Now we're up to $800 a lot, or $800 a lot, $1,200 of waterfront. Why not relate it to the property values? That's happened to other homeowners associations in the country. I think that would be a concept that should be looked at by the board or the Budget and Finance Committee. And they could come up with a formula that would be equitable and even-handed, I think, for everybody. So I'll leave it at that. If you're going to work on your facilities, you have to find a way to pay for them. And I don't think there's an answer in hand for that yet.
When I went up to Annapolis March 4th to testify against House Bill 151, which is where the state robs Peter to pay Paul, I knew all the funds, the $1.7 billion, were going to come out of the State Transportation Trust Fund. I knew the dollars would stop for roads and construction and bridges and everything else. As a matter of fact, one of the senators, after we finished our testimony, told us, well, we're going to do it again next year, which means all the money that we used to get, and Ocean Pines used to get a lot of money, pass-through money, for our roads and our bridges and everything else, and that spigot has been turned off completely. And it's going to be turned off for the next couple of years. Things are not going to get that better that quick. Everybody that lives up here in the north knows how much work has been done to replace the hydrants, and they've done a great job, and for safety, I'm delighted it's happened. But a lot of the road cuts are not going to be fixed back the way they were originally unless Ocean Pines does it. So we're going to have to not only find a way today, in today's economic climate, which is not the same as it was a couple years ago, to find ways to pay for these things, but do a lot of it internally, which the guys do here. Our maintenance people do a great job keeping Ocean Pines straight. So my concentration, I think, on this next time in the board, and I thoroughly enjoyed my 3 years because it was a great group of people to work with, will be on finding the proper ways that the individual people in the community don't have to pay through the nose to take care of losses. We can have better controls, and we're getting better controls in some of these losses. And I think it's not a good idea to increase the assessments in order to pay for losses that we think we can control.
I have a question too, and this time we're going to start with Richard, and we're not turning the microphone over to Tom. Give examples that clearly reflect your ability to act as an effective member of the OPA Board of Directors.
Would you repeat that? Time it works. Stay awake. As an effective person on the board, well, I have personally, people know here, I own Cater Living in the Woodlands, and I've had them built from the ground up. So I know about development, I know about business, I know about how to make things happen. That's what you want, someone to make things happen. Someone who is going to be a person who is going to be able to be able to count on, who's going to be here, who's going to talk to. The board's going to have a good variety of discussion, and good discussion always comes up with better solutions. The Woodlands People ask me, how do you have much time? How can you take the time away from your business? Well, a good structured business doesn't run itself, but doesn't need me to be there all the time. And a good board doesn't need to meet 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A good board is giving direction to the people who are running the show. And if a good general manager, a good people in the Ocean Pines community, and I think that giving them direction is what the boards should do, not run the day-to-day operations.
I know what Rick meant, but I don't necessarily think that the main criteria is being somebody that can make things happen. I think the main criteria is working with a lot of different people to get them all in togetherness to make things happen. And that's really how the board works in Ocean Pines. That's really how Ocean Pines works. It's a tremendous amount of participation on the part of a whole lot of people that makes things happen. In terms of why do I think I can be on the board? Well, I have been on the board, obviously, for the last 3 years. I was treasurer in my first year. I was president in the second year. I think in that second year, we achieved a great deal. I think it was a successful year by any account. And I think the last year will prove to have been the same under Bill Rayco. I believe that making things happen, I think, is mainly a matter of listening to different views, different opinions, and coming to consensus. It's not trying to come up with a firm idea of what you want to do and then try and force that on other people. That's just not what happens. Thank you.
Before I came here, a long time back, I used to work for NASA. I worked in Washington, D.C. as a program director. One of the tasks we were asked by the FAA to organize this aviation safety reporting system. This was a confidential reporting system where pilots and controllers could report problems in the National Aviation System. We had to deal with every aviation alphabet group in the country to gain consensus about our plan and how we would go about implementing. The plan was implemented and it is still in place. I think that speaks for how I can get along with groups, and I don't have any problem saying why I couldn't get along with the board of directors.
It's kind of funny. The group of people that I was on the board with are a great bunch who have a great love of the community, but very diverse opinions and ideas on different things. So many times, being as I've been a cop so long, a cop is always in the middle of one thing or the other. Many times I had to kind of play peacemaker a little bit, which was fine because they all understood and they all had the respect for one another. But the biggest thing that we have to look at right now and decisions that we have to make are going to be diverse among the people that are there, especially with, I'm not going to get away from this $2.5 million thing at the yacht club. The first thing we have to decide, and Bill Rayco said the same thing several times, we have to decide how we're going to use the facility. Is it going to be year-round? Is it going to be managed by us? It's going to be managed by somebody else? These are decisions that the next 7 people are going to have to sit down and talk to each other and try to work out something that's going to be best for the community in the long term.
Take the microphone down to Tom.
This could be a risk. No. Wish me luck. I spent 30 years in Verizon as a product manager, construction, contract negotiator, team builder, team leader. I'm a bridge builder. I look for people I look for ideas. My approach has always been to have ideas as far over here as you can get and as far over here as you can get until the ideas that are coming really aren't making much sense anymore. And after you've done that, you've pretty much covered the waterfront of what the ideas ought to be. And then you bring it all back together to where somewhere in the middle, you end up with the right idea and the right vision and the right goal for where you want the organization to go after you've gotten everybody's input. You have to have an approach that allows you to be a bridge builder if you're going to work with a group of people. You have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to say, you know what, you're right on that one. I'll come over on your side. I'm willing to learn. You know more about it than I do? Fine, tell me, teach me. I'm willing to listen. I ran Product development, team direction. I've done economic development around the country. I know what a viable community looks like. I know how to build one. I know how to build a team. And I know how to be a team player. And one of the ways to be a team player around this place, apparently, is to take off your sport coat when you sit down. So I'm going to take my coat off right now.
There you go, Tom.
Join the team up there. All joking aside, I do think it's important that we be open to listening to other people who aren't necessarily buying off on your idea the first time you open your mouth. I'm willing to listen and learn, and I think that's what it takes for us to have the right leadership in this community. Thank you.
Question number 3 goes to Dave Stevens, and we'll rotate down and then back around. What is your position on the board's current plan for an increase in yearly HOA assessments as projected in the 5-year financial plan?
Well, that plan was implemented 2 years ago when I was president of the board. It was recommended, the plan came as a recommendation from the Budget and Finance Committee. At that point in time, Pete Gomsack was principal behind making the recommendation. We adopted the recommendation, although we highly modified it into a series of graduated assessment increases. There was solid foundation for why we needed to raise that money. There's a good reason for doing it the way that we're doing it. First of all, we try and make the increases moderate as we go along. We're not collecting all of the money up front. We're collecting it a little more each year. And at the point in time we end, I believe and would be committed to saying that that increase is not going to be exceeded. We may be able to lower the amount of that, but we're not going to exceed it. And by the way, there's at least 2 comments like, I don't know where you're going to get the money to pay for the yacht club. Well, if we follow the financial plan we have right now, we will be able to accommodate whatever we have to do with the yacht club, whatever makes sense. We will have enough money to either renovate or rebuild the country club. We will have enough money to either renovate or rebuild the beach club, and a multitude of other problems, including, if worse comes to worse, a graduated plan for figuring out how to handle the loss of the Rose money. All you have to do is study that plan, understand it, and you will find out that that is true. The plan will support these things. And it's 3 more years to go, and that's the main reason I'm standing up here tonight.
People are speaking of this 5-year assessment plan like it's something that's been put out in the public, and I can't tell you, or I can tell you, I don't really know what that 5-year plan is. So what am I supposed to say about it? A couple of years ago, it was $26 a year. Last spring, I believe there was, in the newsletter during the summer, Bill Rakow gave his message to the membership and said $26 on the next page. Tom Olson gave his message and says $46 that year, and we went to $46. I have no idea what they're talking about as far as this increases every year. Does anybody in the room, if they can say, raise their hand, I'd be happy to hear them tell them, because I don't know what it is. I've already spoken that I think the assessments are too high and we have to cut them back. I also said the assessments are having an adverse effect on the community. How do I say that? I live on a street that is just across the street from the golf course. We moved out here in 2007. Since I've lived here, there are 10 houses and lots for sale on that street. Not a single one has been sold. Now, I propose that if you walk up and down the streets in Ocean Pines, you'll find a lot of houses that aren't being sold. Why? People are doing their due diligence when they come to buy into the Pines. What do they find? Ever-increasing assessments. Why would they want to come in here and pay for a 10-year plan on rebuilding the yacht club? They don't have any interest. They're going to go somewhere else and buy. He's given me the 30-second signal. I don't know that I can say any more. Thank you.
This community, the last board, the next couple of boards coming up are going to have to deal with something that we've never had to deal with. the place is falling apart because wooden buildings don't last forever. These things have to be fixed a step at a time, a piece at a time, and we're going to have to step up as often as we can as a community to make sure we maintain them. Otherwise, property values, not just here and everywhere else, will diminish. The community will not be as nice as it always has been. There are a lot of people in the Pines that are hurting under the current economic conditions and really don't want to see any assessment increases at all. And I listen to those people because I want to make sure that the assessment increases that they're putting through are not to cover losses, but are to cover the things that are necessary, like maintaining the reserves. We have like 2.8 or so now in the reserves. Now, those reserves are not going to cover everything that's going to have to be done, but the 10-year plan may have to be tweaked a little bit, but it's a good, solid plan put together by the people that I think have our best interest at heart. So, you know, that's something that we have to sit down and discuss and enjoy what we have here. And because we all moved here for the same reasons primarily, because it's a very unusual community. You stop and think, if your house that you have here was in Berlin, you would be paying 3 times more for local taxes than you are right here in Ocean Pines. Ocean Pines is still a bargain. It's still hard on some people when there are assessment increases. This is very true. But we have to do things over the next couple of years that have never been had to be dealt with in the past.
One of the advantages of looking at the 5-year plan and what was put in place by Dave Stevens and the other boards was the stability. The stability of the increase year over year. You know what the increase is going to be. You know, if you read the newspapers that are put out by Ocean Pines, what the money is going to be spent for and when. It's in there. It's very clear if you read it. As far as the value of the homes in Ocean Pines going down, the reality is they're going up. I've just gotten through doing a research myself on the value of homes in Ocean Pines last year to this year, and the average home we sold the average home selling in Ocean Pines this year at this point in time is $17,000 higher than it was a year ago, and Berlin's average sale is down $16,000. So I don't think the amenities of Ocean Pines are negatively affecting our home values or our marketability of our homes at all. What will affect it is if we don't look like we're going to take care of this community and don't stay the course on the 5-year plan and the 10-year task force. Because somebody just said our buildings are made of wood and they're not going to last forever. And as much as we don't want to keep raising dues year after year after year willy-nilly, the reality is there is a plan, it's specific. As Dave says, it's in there as to where the money's going to go. And that's the answer as far as I'm concerned to the 5-year plan. That is the key to having a stability for our community that we need. Thank you.
The amenities of Ocean Pines is why people moved here, not why people are moving away. People are moving away for all kinds of reasons, but not because our amenities are there. The yacht club, pool, the beach club, these are why people come to the Pines. We don't know anything that's gone down lately except our homes in price and value. To have more value, we need to have better amenities, better maintenance, and better roads and everything else. I tell people all the time, we get a lot of people who come from places other than the Pines to visit my facility. I tell them one thing, I'm very proud of Ocean Pines. You can walk down any street you want and feel secure anytime at night. How many neighborhoods or small cities of what we are can say that? Not many. I also want to say one thing about getting along with others. Is that I started off saying we need leaders. Leaders do not disregard their people who are their employees, or their friends, or their colleagues, or their constituents. They listen to them. The other thing I want to address is the need for rules in the Pines. We all have rules and regulations, and those are sometimes good, sometimes bad. We need to continue with the board what they've done here, which is a great job in their 5-year plan and 10-year plan to continue the success of the Pines.
I'm going to turn the curtains a little bit, thinking maybe air conditioners affecting, or could that be at all electronic? Just let's see if it just works a little bit with the microphone. It could be the telephone too, which is right over here.
Could be Tom.
Could be Tom. Okay. Okay. Question number 4 begins with Jean. As you know, there's 3 options on the board about fixing the yacht club's structural and mechanical problems. Rehabilitate, build anew, repair only those fixes. This question came from a resident that's in the lines of what our committee had talked about. What is your preference for the yacht club? Repair is required and necessary for a cost of approximately $1.2 million, or a major renovation or replacement for approximately $2.3 million, and why?
I believe the yacht club should be replaced. I view it should be the one-story approach. It's the higher price option, and it'll be put to referendum, and I would vote for it. That's all I got to say about it.
A little while ago, I was telling you how much money has been put into that building in the last 5 or 6 years. If we remember the new elevator that put in, well, the elevator was put in, and when they started to get the work done, they realized that the structure that was surrounding it and supporting it was bad. So that was entirely replaced from top all the way down to bedrock. And they put the double elevator in. Then they realized that the floor in the second floor in the kitchen area had been bad for so many years and leaking and messing up all the wood. So that entire floor structure was replaced and repaired, and now it drains properly and it's in good shape. Have to do that with the first floor kitchen area down there, and we have to do that with the bathrooms to bring them up to spec of what they're supposed to be. The exterior of the building was done. A lot of the woodwork was done. And then they went down underneath and they saw all these pilings that were rotten from here down. They replaced a whole bunch. I'm not sure how many were replaced in order to keep the structure safe, and there are more that have to be done. Well, that's a lot of money that we put into that building, and right now I'm not ready until we decide for sure how we're going to use it. Do you close it at the end of September and open it in May? If you do that, anybody that takes over will be able to make a profit with it because you're not supporting it for the months that there's nobody down here or is really interested in using it. The key thing that I look at right now is whether or not the community, we could say, all right, fine, let's rebuild it, whether or not the community would support a referendum. And if they say no, we are back at step 1, which is repair the things that have to be done on the building right now. And that may be the way we're going to have to go, because I really think we have to step back and punt and take a look at this thing very carefully.
Thanks, Ray.
I think the future of the yacht club begins with what do we want to be in the building if we're going to replace it. What kind of facility do we want? What kind of restaurant do we need? What kind of services are going to be provided? What kind of food is going to be provided? I do believe, without question, that we need a gathering place inside the Pines that belongs to us, that is ours. It adds to the ambiance of our community. I think it's very valuable. How much money we spend on the particular facility, I think comes down to, I said earlier, I'm not for band-aiding things. You put a band-aid on something, you spend $600,000-$800,000 on it, and next year you're back doing it again, you're doing it again, you're doing it again. So I believe I agree with part of what's been said before, is that what are you going to do with it? Why do you want it? Then you can decide what kind of building you need. And most recently, it's been the coupling of the country club and the yacht club together to say, how do these two facilities and amenities fit together in an overall plan of what we want to be done? So it isn't just a yacht club question. It's a yacht club, country club question that says between the two, what is the best investment for our community? And I do completely agree with the idea of this going to a referendum. I think this is a big decision that ought to be made by the residents of our community once we can clearly define what it is we want to do. Thank you.
You stole my thunder. I think the biggest thing is we need to decide on a basis of what we're going to do with the yacht club and the country club, because you don't need two buildings that host weddings. Not that many weddings here. You need two buildings that host large affairs. You need a building for weddings and large affairs, a building for smaller ones. So we need to have two distinct buildings that will house different parties and functions. Right now, the yacht club is not the most useful building. There's I see a lot of cracks in the armor there. The upstairs, is okay, but the elevator is not very good. Getting people up and down those steps is treacherous at best. I think we need a building that maybe one story, maybe two, but I'm not ready to say until we address that with the long-term thoughts with the yacht club. With the country club. I think they're very much connected. I understand a long time ago, before I was here, when probably Dave was here, since you're older, they had a lot of functions at the country club. It was very nice. But lately, I don't think they have many there that they do with the yacht club. So we need to address both buildings and both as projects, not only now, but down the road.
A few things. Just one thing. I see you can always save money. You can always save money by simply giving up something that other people enjoy. It's an easy way to do it, and it certainly doesn't hurt you. In fact, the smaller building for the yacht club was discussed by the 10-year task force, and it certainly is a consideration. We had a proposal for one. And, the bottom line question is, what do you do with the some 50 catered events that we held at the yacht club last year? And which actually were profitable, although that was not the primary consideration. Addressing the approach, well, we just have to keep maintaining it. At a town hall meeting, I made a comment that I had been it was about a month ago, but a couple of directors, now I've got three, called me aside and said, Dave, what are you doing with the yacht club? What are you doing? We put over $1 million into that place. And he says 1.5, I'll believe that. Has anybody been to the yacht club and can see that $1 million?
You have to look.
The fact that you have to look hard, Ray, you really have to look hard. Okay, the yacht club and the country club. If you can, unless you're willing to simply throw away the idea that, you can have Aunt Ellie's 70th birthday, or, make that 90th, I'm sorry, and your daughter's or granddaughter's wedding there, then you have to, okay. Then there are ways to look at the two in combination, and first of all, and the 10-year planning committee is doing that. It is feasible to have a moderately sized or that will handle all of the functions we have now, much more energy efficient, much better building at the yacht club. And at the same time, look at a country club, which is downsized primarily to the golf function, but not necessarily exclusively to that function.
Question number 5 is the last question in this segment from questions from the committee. Question number 5 will be Ray Underwood, and then Tom, Richard, and Jean. Our question was so similar to one submitted by a resident that I'm actually going to hand out the question from the resident so that they can see the length of this, because some people are more visual than hearing. And I'll read out the question. The committee's question was, what is your position on a one fee for use of all amenities? The question submitted by the resident is, what is your position on returning Ocean Pines to an amenity-privileged community as it was established by the Founding Fathers? That is, our assessments allow members to participate in all amenities. Rather than what we have today, a community that you have to pay above your base assessment for each amenity you desire to use. The requirement to pay for each amenity above the base was imposed apparently to deter use of our amenities to relieve overcrowdedness. Unfortunately for us, it worked, and the membership to most of the community amenities has declined. This has resulted in serious budget issues for Ocean Pines. Yes, our assessments will have to be increased, but members will have access to all of our community's amenities. So it's sort of like ours, a one fee, which would be coming through an assessment that we would get to use all amenities. Ray, you're first.
Times change, and when the original Ocean Pines was conceived and put down in drawings, even the people that were there in those days did not envision what has occurred and what has happened. We had no way, the only reason that there is an ocean club is because people who were coming here and buying the $7,000 lots were saying, where's the ocean? How do you get there? So the guys went down up where the pool is up there on the north side, and they dug a hole in the ground, and they put a boat there, and they said, well, come on, we'll take it. They went right across the bay, went through secret lots, went across the highway over there, and said, there's the ocean. Then one of them one day said, why don't we buy this? Ain't nothing up here. Why don't we buy a piece of this land? Boy, am I glad he did that. It was a very wise decision. That's the most valuable piece of real estate in Ocean City right now. And we own it flat out, straight and forward. Now, as far as amenities are concerned, and what things cost. 20 years ago, there were 700-800 members in the golf course. Now we have under 300, and we got one of two choices. You want to make it a private club? It's going to cost you $25,000 a year to play there, and we don't have any worry about it coming in outside play. Do you think people are going to do that? I don't think it's going to happen. A couple of weeks ago, they had like 400 or 500, what do they call it, rounds that were all outside play. Well, that's outside people coming in to play at our course to help pay for it. Now, so you're going to have one or the other. You cannot have a private course unless you're going to have the people who can afford to do it, and I don't think that's going to happen here. So when we take a look at how things are now and how things they were in the past, we'd have to take a look at a big assessment increase in order for everybody, I think, to pay or to get everything free, because the costs today are not the same as they were 40 years ago when it was conceived.
It's an intriguing idea. The issue that I would be challenged with is the accountability of the folks who run the various departments in Ocean Pines and the various amenities. If you simply pay for all the costs of all the amenities by raising the dues substantially and then open the doors for everybody to use them, where's the accountability on the part of the people who are running the amenity to make it as efficient and make it as good as they can? They can simply spend money and they'll raise the dues to get everything paid for. So I'm not in favor of this idea of raising the dues to the point where everything is open. The other piece of it is, as I mentioned earlier this evening, the idea of generating revenue from people who are coming here to visit. I'm not looking to market to the world to come in here, but I am looking for the people who are sleeping here tonight to allow them to have an opportunity to use our amenities. This kind of approach of where the amenities are all paid for in dues and all of those expenses are covered doesn't really fit with the idea of trying to generate revenue with the amenities from the people that are here visiting and spending time with us. So while it's an intriguing idea, I think the adjustment to the dues would be just too high in order to implement it.
Intriguing isn't the word I'd use. It'd be horrible. All the people who are here do not use all the amenities. It's a pay-as-you-go system here. The people in my affinity is the people who are elderly don't use the yacht club and and the beach club, everything else. The people who are young don't use a lot of the amenities. So I think it'd be disproportionate on the people who lived here, retired here, who don't use a lot of the amenities. They'd be paying most of the bills. I think it's unfair and unjust. Anybody wants to go to the yacht club and dump tea into the harbor, I'll be with them on that one. But the clubs, the amenities need to stand on their own. They need to generate income for the people who are here. They need to get supported by the people who want to support them, and we need to not raise the dues so high people can't live here and retire here. We need to raise the dues so that we can have a good, solid financial system.
Pretty much agree with just about everything that's been said. Interesting, but you can't get there from here. The fact of the matter is the people in Ocean Pond, I mean, the demographics are so different from what it was when Boise Cascade. And I bought my lot in 1970. We bought our lot in 1971 on Mary's orders. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work because half of our property owners, our members, are not living here and don't get the frequent use. But I think more to the point, the cost of the amenities is something that needs to be further addressed, and it started this year with an amenities working group who looked at the pricing of our amenities. And I think, as Bill Rako has said, I mean, the real goal is to broaden the use of the amenities. It's not looking at the bottom line, but if more people use them, then they're successful. And that's not what we're quite getting. Perhaps, things like making them easier to pay for. Perhaps like being able to spread payments out over a period of time, or use a credit card if you can't, without charging an exorbitant fee with it. I mean, there's a lot of different ideas, but I think the main goal is to try and make them as accessible to as many people in Ocean Pines from any walk of life as we possibly can.
I believe there's a faulty premise in the question. It says the requirement to pay for each amenity via base assessment was imposed to deter use of amenities to relieve overcrowdedness. Unfortunately for all of us, it works in the membership to most of the community as amenities in decline. I don't believe that premise is false. Probably the amenities are declining because maybe we're aging. There are enough new people moving in. I already spoke to the problem of failed to sell new homes. I don't think we have enough population anymore to support some of these places. So I think the idea really doesn't hold water. We have to figure out a way to get the community more vital and more new people moving in. And I went along with earlier saying the only way we can do that is to get our amenities managed so they don't scare people away. Thank you.
So that ends the 5 questions by the committee, and now we're going into the special session where the candidates have brought questions with them, and we have our little basket of numbers 1 through 5. Kathy, would you like to pick the first number to find out which candidate will be asking a question of another candidate? And what is the number?
Number 3.
Okay, Dave Stevens, pick your number. Your number is?
Number 2.
2, so you get to ask the young man.
My name is Rick Handelman.
Why do you hate old people?
Which one you think?
Here,
You'll
this
be
one.
answering, so unless he wants to talk.
First question.
Okay. The typical life of a director includes 12 scheduled meetings a year, 6 to 9, if you're lucky, special and closed meetings, as many as 24 committee meetings as liaison, and with, a minimum of liaison to 2 committees. Some board members have 3. Attendance a variety of other civic and association functions. Are you able and willing to commit to that level of involvement? And if so, what in your recent experience, such as attendance at OPA board meetings, demonstrates that you can and will?
"12 meetings a year." Time to mess with this.
You're lucky.
12
He's not going to help.
12 meetings a year is simple. I have meetings all the time, and between 6 and 9 p.m. is a great time for meetings for me. I'm committed here. I'm committed to Ocean Pines. I'm committed to making the place better. I'm committed to seeing through everything that Ocean Pines wants themselves to be. I have a financial as well as a interest, as well as a civic interest here. I know a lot of the people in this room through different aspects of my life, and if they know me, you know that I'm genuine, know that I care about people, and I want to help them. And I think that attendance at board meetings is something that you can count on, something you can be look forward to. I look forward to being outside of another board and other properties and other people, and working with others. Working with others will be fantastic. So Dave's a great guy. I'm sure that he has been a wonderful board member for the last 3 years, and everybody on this board this panel has been really helpful to me so far, and I'd like to thank them all.
Thank you. Good answer, Rick.
Okay, Rick, you get to pick the number of the candidate you asked the question to.
Number 4.
You'll be asking Jean.
Gene, what are the positive aspects of living in Ocean Pines, and how can we improve Ocean Pines to make it responsible fiscally, as well as a great place to live?
What are the positive aspects? I enjoy driving around Ocean Pines and enjoy seeing a well-kept community. It's nice, and I've been in the yacht club. We used to go there all the time, sit out on the deck, have a couple beers, listen to the band Saturday nights. We don't do that so much anymore, but that was a great joy, and I can look forward to continuing to see that. What was the rest of that question?
What can we do to improve it?
What would I improve?
Yeah.
I'd like to see the amenities cost. We've been there and done that. For a cost cut on those. I don't know that I particularly see anything that I would want to improve. I don't see anything run down. There are no problems. So I'm happy, I think, with the way things are.
Good answer.
Number 1.
Okay, so you asked Tom the question.
Oh, boy. Microphone challenged.
I'll use one of the extra questions.
Okay.
The aquatics program always made money until the sports court pool was covered.
Yeah, you need.
The aquatics program always made money until the sports court pool was covered. As a board member, what cost controlling initiatives would you put in place?
Is it working? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's working. No, it's not. No. I'm just going to sit down here. Being a product manager for years in Verizon, when you inherited a new product or who set in a products and services, invariably you took on the products that somebody handed you. So for whatever reasons that pool got a roof put on it, got a roof put on it, and that's the product that we've got. So we go forward with that product and we look to create programs and activities that generate revenue to try to generate revenue to offset some of the expense. I think we take a long-term look at the long-term utility cost of that facility. And I believe we should do an assessment of possibly changing the heating system. It may cost money in the beginning to change it out, but over time it would cost less. It's costing an inordinate amount of money to heat that facility. So I think we need to take a look at that. As far as additional cuts for the aquatics, I think at this point the aquatics program is already turning itself around with some ribbon cuttings that are coming up. They've appointed 2 good leaders for that part of our community at this point who are addressing the challenges of the aquatics, not just the covered pool, but all of them to make them more viable. And I would follow their lead and listen to them. They know aquatics, they know the pools. I look for them to be accountable to help answer the questions of how we address that cost and how we manage it. That would be my answer. I clearly do not think the answer is taking the roof off the pool, which I've heard people talk about. Taking the roof off is not inexpensive. It doesn't cost nothing to do it. And I think we have to take a look at the product as it is and make it work. Thank you.
There's one paper.
Guess which one I get? Number 5. Okay. Ray Unger. Hanging curveball, Ray. What in your previous board experience best prepares you to serve this time?
As I mentioned before, we had a good group, work together, we're able to sit down and talk to each other, work out problems that came up, and there were a lot of them that came up because we had projects and things that were going on that were critical to the time, and they were also critical to the time about how much money we had to pay for them and how we would. I enjoyed it. People say, where do you take the time? There's an old saying that you find the guy who's the busiest and has the least amount of time to give something, and he's the one that you go to because he's the one that'll get the job done. I work a full-time job, and I have my own business, and I have my family, and I have my interest, and I love to go over to the yacht club occasionally and have a beer. But, it's part of giving back to the community is what you do when you try to volunteer to be a member of the board. And being a member of the board is to be able to sit down and be able to get along with the other guys, because otherwise you can't get anything done. It's a 7-man decision when they have votes, and you have to work together to get it done.
Ray, at this point, you're going to be asking Dave Stevens to make the whole circle. You're not getting out.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah, you get to ask Dave.
Dave.
To complete the circle.
What is your feeling as to the possibility of a referendum passing in today's current climate?
As far as the yacht club is concerned.
Well, that's not the kind of bet I'd like to make one way or another. But I tell you this, what we did with this building that we're sitting in here right now was lay out all of the facts. We didn't sell it, and there was no hype involved. We said, look, here's why we need it, here's how we're going to pay for it, and here's what we'll give you when it's done. And that give you was a little bit better than it wasn't before. Not a whole lot better, but a little better than what you have now. And the people of Ocean Pines listened, and I don't remember what the results were, but was it in the 70% range or something like that? It was pretty remarkable for Ocean Pines anyway. One of the things I think is the question to ask is, will the people still have the same confidence? We believe that whatever the decision is on the yacht club, coupled to the country club, and in conjunction with all of the other things we have to do over the next 10 years, that we have a plan for it, that we have a way to pay for it, and that it will be affordable. It is going to be a little less affordable over the last 3 years of this plan, but once those assessments and that plan is ended, those assessment and those increases will go down, they will be abated. So I don't know. If we can explain this well enough, then I think we have a very good chance, because I think the people of Ocean Pines, I think they're intelligent, I think they love this place, I think they wanted to have a good future. And what we do in the next 3 years is going to determine what that future is 40 years from now.
Well, that ends the special session, and now we'll start the question and answer portion of the program received from the residents. We received one phone call, just one, to the OPA Elections Committee phone, and this is strictly a yes or no question. Are you going to raise the assessments yearly? And we start with Tom. Would you love yes and no? This is where we get some time back into the schedule.
One word or?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Are we going to raise assessments here?
Yearly.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, yes, no, or maybe.
Already in the plan.
Possibly.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
See, we gained some minutes and you all hardly have time to time. Okay. Question number 2. I'm having to hand this out because, again, it's a lengthy question. This one, we're going to start. Richard, you're the first one to answer the question. And it is on the yacht club and the use of the facilities.
But I'm going to read it out loud. I'm going to read it.
Question is, in the current economy and given the... Okay, I'll get the microphone. In the current economy and given the growth of competing dining facilities now outside Ocean Pines, how do you justify the present board's decision to spend over $2 million to upgrade the dining facility at the Yacht Club, which has been losing tens of thousands of dollars annually for over 30 years? Do you really believe, as they do, that a cosmetic fix-up will solve this giant loss problem and bring in lots of revenue? Are they beating a dead horse? Do Ocean Piners really need to spend $2 million on a grand-scale yacht club facility that continues to lose tons of money in the environment and add to increased assessments? Shouldn't the referendum allow us to say none of the above? Or should we accept the reality and the fact that the times have changed? Maybe we ought to put our investment dollars in the country club as the Ocean Pines being a single major dining facility center, and permit the yacht club to be light fare on deck, downstairs dining for summer pools and boaters use, requiring minimum repairs. Your thoughts. That's why I gave this out, because this has got many. You can pick a segment out of this question. You have the paper in front of you, that's why I gave it to you, so start circling major terms. And Rich is the first, Richard.
Richard is going to.
I think it's easier to solve all of our other problems first. I don't think the cosmetic fix-up is going to solve this giant problem, but possibly a new yacht club would solve some problems and make us not have an amenity loss. I really believe that a nice yacht club will attract people to come have dinner with good service and good food. It's a great view and a great place to have a beer or a dinner or whatever. If they have the right building, it'll go a long ways to having the right revenues. And the country club, I've said before, definitely has impact on the yacht club. We need to get have an idea that both they're linked, they're related, they're very much, the two restaurant facilities we have here, and we need to address both at the same time. Not building wise, but just from a planning point of view. And I believe the yacht club and the country club are different animals. The country club can be for certain things and the yacht club for other things. We're not going to yet have both major facilities. You're right, they're probably not needed in here, this forum. Dave, is this for Dave?
Is this a question or an editorial? I think I read this in the progress last week, I'm pretty sure. Just a couple of things. I think we've covered some of this ground, or at least I've made myself clear about the idea of any kind of a cosmetic fix-up. It needs more than that. And, it's unfortunate, but if you've sat in on the 10-year plan, which, by the way, are open, anybody can come, and listen to all of the problems that you've seen in the yacht club, they're far more, than just even the decking or anything like that. It's far worse than that. That can't happen. Do Ocean Piners really need to spend $2 million on a grand scale yacht club that continues to lose tons of money? Well, as a matter of fact, this past year it had the lowest loss or subsidy in history with about $17,000, which was like $100,000 less than, more than $100,000 less than last year. So by cutting costs, you can, now some people will say, and including Bill Rayco, and quite correctly, that yeah, we did cut costs, but on the other hand, we lost revenues too. So maybe the quality and service isn't what we really want, some kind of a balance in between. But on the other hand, it's never made money. At no point in the history of Ocean Pines has the yacht club not been subsidized. Nobody moved into Ocean Pines that was promised that either the yacht club, the golf club, the swimming, that these facilities were going to either make profits or they were going to break even. Never happened. Have times changed? Well, I don't know. You have to ask the people, many people who are using the yacht club right now. I think what the idea of the yacht club is that, I think, Tom said it best, it's our facility. It's a social gathering place. It's a place where people in Ocean Pines can meet and talk to each other. It's an important part of a community. And I think Gene kind of said the same thing. Kick back, have a beer, be on the deck. I put it in that deck out there is easily in the top 5 places to be in this entire area.
I have my own comment.
Okay.
As you say, it's an editorial. It's kind of hard to know exactly where he's coming from or where he or she is coming from or going. The conversation this evening has gone along with combining the yacht club and the country club. I view them as separate facilities, and I don't know why we would want to talk about them at the same time. The yacht club has its charm because it's on the bay, and we like to sit back, look at the world go by, and have the breezes blow us, and with lucky the breeze blows the flies away. So I like that. The country club is used for more special formal occasions. Should it be maintained to provide that function? I don't know. It seems to me that it's a question of what the yacht club could do. So I'm leaning toward, if I were doing anything, it would be the yacht club, and I would probably defer or look seriously at what we did at the country club. Yes,
First of all, the board has not made a decision to spend $2.5 million. That was a recommendation from the task force to build a new building. Secondly, the huge losses that they're talking about in here, this year it was down to like $17,000 or something. But of course they had to deduct what they were paying to the chef who left this year too. So that would raise it up a little bit more. So there's still that facility there. Everybody in this room, when they sat down and they signed their papers at settlement, signed that piece of paper and said, yes, we're going to pay this much amount on the assessment, and portions of that are going to subsidize or to help pay for our amenities. They're here. We decided in writing that we'll help pay for them, so that the time is always going to be here when we'll have to do that. Then there's that here about the loss of tons of money, or what should we do? I don't consider the work that's been done at the yacht club cosmetic. Only one thing, the least expensive thing that's been done over there is cosmetic, and that's when they put the new vinyl siding all around the entire building. If you go inside, internally into that building, into the general structure, you have to see what has been done. Do you want a nice, shiny car with an engine and transmission that do not operate? Or do you want an older car that has a good running motor, which is going to get A to B? We do not have a cosmetic fix at that yacht club. That building is sound. It just needs to be made a little sounder.
The people have called this an editorial, and I take this long list of questions down to one question: why spend the money? I think it's a reasonable list of questions that have been put here. I think they need to be answered. I don't think the answer is don't build the yacht club and don't fix it. I certainly don't want to go back in time. But I think you have to take a look at these questions and say, this is exactly what I referred to earlier when I said, you're going to get input from people from over here or way over here. They're going to ask questions that are uncomfortable that you may not want to have to listen to. But the realities are these are legitimate questions. Do you spend the money? We've already said it all. What are you going to do in the building? What are you going to offer? Why are you doing it? You have to answer why. If you can answer why legitimately, then I think you spend the money and you put the facility in place. I clearly am in support of a yacht club. That location is one of the premier locations, as Dave said, in this entire area. To go to that yacht club and think that we wouldn't have something there that is a yacht club level of facility that allows us to have a gathering place, my personal opinion is this is something we need and we should want as an amenity for our community. But the questions here are legitimate, and I think we do have to answer the question why and what. And once we do that, I think we can explain why, explain what we're going to do. And these are the tough decisions that a board has to make and answer the tough questions. And these are some tough questions. So that I think we're all going to be challenged with.
Question number 3, we begin with Dave Stevens. If the yacht club is remodeled at a figure of $2.4 million, should the board even consider a rental fee for its use at $2,400 per month when houses are renting for at least $1,000 per month? At this figure, it would take approximately 83 years to pay off the debt. Please comment.
Got all these numbers?
That's a fun answer.
Well, you know, it's kind of a simple answer. I mean, you know, the board, we did receive a proposal to that effect. The board examined the proposal, the board talked to the people, some of the members of the board talked to the people, and that matter has not been brought for the board, before the board as a whole, and therefore the board is not considering it. Will it? I doubt it, but I doubt it very much, as a matter of fact. So what was the rest of the question? That was it? Okay, good. Yes, and please comment on what?
On the figure, 2.4 million divided by...
No, I mean, no. We've looked extensively into outsourcing. That activity is still going on, but in this particular case, you know, unless a whole lot more information came in, the board is not under board consideration.
Repeat the question.
If the yacht club is remodeled at a figure of $2.4 million, should the board even consider a rental fee for its use at $2,400 per month? At this figure, it would take approximately 83 years to pay off the debt. Please comment.
First answer can be summarized by Dave Stevens. He said no. The next part of the answer, I guess, is that looking at the possibility of outsourcing the operation to somebody else is an entirely different question, and that may be worth looking at. That's all I have to say on the question.
I don't know who would pay this fee that you're talking about, but the people that wanted to talk to the board of directors about outsourcing the yacht club sat down with me 2 months ago, and we discussed it then. And one of the original things that they were looking at is they wanted to take over all of the amenities, including the beach club. And I told them, you even mentioned the beach club, and that's like cutting your own throat. So, and they couldn't do it anyhow because of the way the liquor license is set up at the beach club. We can utilize it, but nobody else can go in there. Secondly, long term, as far as the facility itself is concerned, the first thing, and it's been mentioned here a couple times, we have to decide exactly how we're going to use the building. Don't discount the people that come over there and want to have weddings. Our most profitable thing that we do at that yacht club are these weddings and the things that we cater, because everything is there, and if you've been there, and I've been there for lots of weddings, just when they get ready to say, I do, everybody that's at the yacht club is part of the wedding party. And most people really enjoy that fact. I've seen yachts come in where they back up and the bride and groom step off the yacht and they go in and get married. That's not going to be the case if we try to put them over at the country club, because there are, 13 or 14 golf courses around here with beautiful facilities where people can go and get married. They want to get married there at the yacht club, and that I think is one of the things that we should try to encourage.
Yes, to Tom.
Well, on the face of it, the numbers obviously don't add up. You don't take $2,000 worth of income on an $87 note, a year note. That certainly doesn't make sense. The idea of outsourcing is something that I think is something that does need to be reviewed as to whether or not that makes sense. But at the end of the day, one of the outsourcing that I would look for, if someone wants to help manage part of our facility, then they ought to be willing to share some of the risk and share some of the profit. So far, the only thing, and I've attended a lot of board meetings and a lot of these sessions now, the only thing I've seen presented is people saying, we will pay us and we'll manage it for you, but you're still taking all the risk of whether you make money or not. If you're going to outsource something, understand one thing: you lose control of it. They're trying to make a profit, so they're going to say what goes on. Secondarily, unless you're sharing in the risk and sharing in the profit, you lose control again. So, outsourcing is not necessarily bad as long as the business deal is correct and there's still some level of control left for the people in Ocean Pines so they can have a say on what's going on there. I mean, my lovely bride, Carol, and I might want to get remarried again at the yacht club, and we want to make sure we can do that. Yeah, I think without question, a $2,000 fee. I jokingly said to someone that if they're offering $2,000, I'll offer 2.1 a month and take it over just the way it is right now with that facility and that location. There's no better place than that. So obviously, I would say no to that deal.
When you get married?
35 years ago, actually.
Outsourcing is a good idea at times, but you lose control. Do you want the yacht club to be a place that makes money, or do you want the yacht club doesn't make quite as much money, but is an amenity for us? When you outsource it, the person who takes it over wants to make the most money they can. When we control it, we can control the prices, the profits, the losses much better. So I really have a question with outsourcing is really the key, unless it's just such a good deal that you think they can do it. Plus, we give them a new building has a lot of effects on profits. Increase your profits, increase your revenue, because it'll be more efficient, hopefully, be more of an point of interest for people. I think we'll have a large influx of new people who are curious about the yacht club, and will come to the yacht club if it's done well and the service is good. The other thing is $2,400 for 83 years. That's ridiculous. Dave won't even be here by then. But the building, not connecting the yacht club and the country club, I think not connecting them from a point of view of the buildings is kind of very short-sighted. The buildings are both restaurants, both serve the same population, that's Ocean Pines residents. So we need to have some thoughts about what we can do for both.
Okay.
We're on question 4. It's a lengthy one, but it's from the Boat Club, and we're going to be starting with Jean. So Jean, the question from the Ocean Pines Boat Club concerns Yacht Club Marina boat slip rental fees. There's been a 32% increase in Yacht Club boat slip rental fees in the past 5 years. When there were objections by slip holders, they were told that the prices were set to be competitive with other marinas. However, the comparisons were based primarily on large commercial marinas, not other homeowner or condo associations. Our marina has continuously been profitable, and the boat club believes that boat slips are a community amenity, as are many other amenities which are subsidized by homeowners. We believe that the boat slip holders should, as homeowner association members, be treated more equitably, not charge commercial fees or whatever the market will bear. We would like your position on this issue.
There are two parts to this question. The first part has to do with the increase in fees over the past 5 years, 32%. I don't have a boat. I have no idea whether or not that's a meaningful increase. I can't compare it to anything. They say the marina's been profitable. And I feel that we shouldn't charge commercial fees. I don't know, as I said, whether or not the 32% increase is excessive. Is it less than the commercial fees? I don't have enough information to comment on this particular issue, so I won't.
5 years ago, when I kept my boat at the Yacht Club, it was like $1,250 or something like that, and now it's up to $16. So it's gone up a good deal. But the marina itself is profitable. Now we're sitting here discussing how much should we pay to subsidize some of these other things, and then we're sitting here discussing should we increase fees to the people that keep their boats over there on something that is profitable. And what I say is leave that alone now. Leave it alone now. They only added these fees over the last couple of years because they could. And they simply did it, and it was voted on, and it was part of the budget, and they did. Right now, our marina, if we want to keep it full and keep the people happy over there, leave it alone.
I think the idea of treating people as homeowners equitably is fair. If I look at this and I have to take it on face value that they've done their homework, that they're paying commercial rates, at some point we have to possibly freeze the increases and lock them in, put a ceiling on them at this point if we are making some profit. God forbid we should make some profit on something. But I do think there is, if we've had a 32% run up in the last 5 years, perhaps we look in another direction for other fee increases and drive revenues through other ways as opposed for this continuing to go up. But in many ways, like Gene said, I don't have enough information here to state whether this question is right or wrong, except that I do think we have to realize that if the statements are correct, then I would probably push towards leaving the fees exactly where they are and move on to other areas to generate more revenue.
I actually have a question. Is the marina full, Dave? Is it full?
That's my understanding. I don't know the numbers this year, but I believe it has
20-man waiting list.
20-man waiting list. Thank you, Bill.
Then, I guess supply and demand has told us that those fees are fair. And, I'm not saying we should raise it any more, but it obviously didn't deter a whole lot of people from putting their boats there. So I'm sure we're in line with others. And, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't, keep it where it is. I'm not saying we should raise it up. I don't want to gouge anybody. And nobody wants to be gouged. Nobody should be gouged. But the idea that we're charging too much, I think is not correct.
Yeah, you sort of hit the nail on the head with that one. When I heard 4 years ago, before I was on the board, I was coming into the, I guess the now infamous, general manager presentation on the budget, and that was the 150 increase here. But anyway, the boat owners, when they made their case, which I thought how horribly unfair all of that is, but I do believe that they have made, the management's made a reasonable attempt to find out what comparable fees are and to charge something that's lower the rate. There is one point that makes this a little bit different than any other amenity. It's not a first come, first served sign up. If you have your boat in the marina, unless this has changed, as I understand it, you get to have it the next year and the next year and the next year after that. I mean, that's the only amenity where that happens. It's not like you have a limited number of memberships at the golf course and, until somebody dies, you can't get another one. And there always has been a waiting list. I didn't know what the current number was this year, but there still is a waiting list of 20 people. So I think it's fair. I think we have to really do our homework to make sure it stays fair, and that, I believe that the amenities in Ocean Pines ought to be a bargain to the people who live in Ocean Pines, relatively. It's not always possible to get it exactly because you're comparing apples to oranges, but that should be our general objective. Thank you.
This is question number 5, and the last question from the residents. Ray, you'll begin this one with your answer. Do you support publishing the names of Ocean Pines owners who have not paid their assessment dues, some for several years? I am not referring to those who have made arrangements to pay on some sort of payment plan. If not in favor of publishing these names, why not?
Anybody that's lived in Ocean Pines over the years, including myself, can pay their assessment or portions of their assessment anytime they want. When I go up during the course of the year, if I happen to be up there and I have my checkbook with me and I have a little extra money, I say, here's $100 on my account. So when I get my bill at the end of the year, it's always only like $200 or $300 versus the $800 or $900. We all have that ability to do that. Anytime can do it. That's paying in advance. Secondly, there are a lot of situations and homes that are in the Pines that were bought 30, 40 years ago where people have passed away. Their families may not even know, or most of the homes that they're talking about here have not even been visited by their owners for 4 or 5 or 6 years, right, Bill? A lot of them, people haven't come down to even see the properties that are there. There's 2 or 3 that are like that, I know, that they have talked about in the past. As far as putting somebody's name in the paper who has defaulted, first of all, it's done automatically because when you do put a loan against a property, it's a matter of public record and it's put in the paper anyhow. So I don't think that's something that we have to go out to deliberately try to embarrass anybody by doing that, because I don't think it's going to result in them paying their up-to-date fees.
Yeah, actually, I agree with Ray. I think that if you put a lien on somebody's property, it becomes public knowledge anyway. I don't want to be in the business of publicly embarrassing people. What I would like to be in the business of is communicating with people that are having a problem. If they step forward and work with the association, I want the association to have the freedom and the flexibility to be able to work with people to keep from getting to this point. As far as publishing names, I don't think we should be in the business of bludgeoning people. I think we ought to be in the business of working with people, and as long as they'll come forward, then I think we can work around some of these issues. I think the unasked question here is, what do you do with the people who aren't paying, and how do they get to this point? And I think that some of the processes and procedures that have been put in place over the last year or two are beginning to try to address some of that now. But at the same time, I do think, and I fully endorse the idea that we have to go after the money that's owed the association. To be fair to everybody here, we have to enforce the dues and get them collected. But as far as publishing names, no, I don't see that.
We're not talking about people who work with the association. We're talking about people who won't work with the association. So we're not talking about people who have lost their jobs and can't pay or or don't visit, which, they get plenty of mail from Ocean Pines Association. There are people who won't cooperate at all. I'm not sure that publishing the name of the paper is going to really have any effect on them at all. Then you need to find a way to get to them, to have them pay. You put a lien on their property or whatever, but I'm not sure publishing their name in the paper is going to have any real effect on these people.
Yeah, pretty much agree with the previous comments. Putting the name in the paper is basically a punitive thing that I don't think would accomplish all that much. My idea was to actually put them in the stocks and throw tomatoes at them, but I don't know about that either. Well, again, one of the things that and the questioner should know is that there was a study. I mean, we have looked into procedures for tightening up our collections, and so far I think it's working. And it's been very, if anybody's followed any board meetings at all, they would heard the word foreclosed come out of one certain director's mouth one whole lot. And I think we do the best we can, A, to work with people, and then B, to scrupulously follow the legal procedures and go after those that we have to. So.
I think the quickest answer to this is the liability issues. The liability issues of publishing an incorrect name probably make the whole process moot.
Before the closing statements, I'd like to thank the candidates because they didn't see any of these questions. So you're all on your toes and good answers. Some important dates before we do the closing. The ballots will be mailed to everyone on July 16th. The deadline is Thursday, August 12th by 4:30 to get your ballots in. The counting of ballots will begin on August 13th at 11 a.m. and the annual meeting will be held on Saturday, August 14th at 10 a.m. at the Ocean Pines Community Center. And that's when the election results will be announced. So with that, let's see, we're going to start with Tom for a 3-minute or less closing statement.
Again, I want to thank the committee, and for you coming out this evening. This evening, I think we've covered a lot of topics. I think you've heard why we want to serve. I hope you've seen what we all have to offer. I've been attending board meetings now for quite a while and getting involved. The emphasis points, as far as I'm concerned, are that we got to continue the long-term planning, the 5-year financial approaches, and the 10-year task force reviews. We need to work towards stable finances and some critical assessment of expending without question. I think I can bring a lot of value to the assessment of the products and the services and the overall direction of Ocean Pines. And I will work hard to represent you and to continue to have Ocean Pines be the top-notch community that it already is and face the tough decisions. I will ask the tough questions and I will listen to the tough questions as well. And I will answer them to the best I can, and I will work as a team player to try to make sure that we get the community we all want. And that's my objective of wanting to serve on the board, is to make sure that if I am elected when my time is done, that I've left the Ocean Pines in better condition than it was when I got there. And quite frankly, following in the direction and the path of the existing board, I think is a good way to go. Thank you.
You've heard from a lot of good people tonight, a lot of people with good ideas and some answers that some like and some don't. I wouldn't worry about too much of the issues of what each person is saying up here, because things that have a habit of changing. Things change from day to day in this Ocean Pines community. Things change and the amenities. Things change at the yacht club, and things will change regardless who's up here and who's making decisions. So you need people who are intelligent, and who listen, who play with the team and unity ideals, who want to make Ocean Pines better, and who want to make the Ocean Pines 10-year plan come true. People who want to make a difference in their community with the thoughts of all of you in their heart. So the issues are many, the timing is critical, and I hope you'll consider voting for me.
I came onto the board 3 years ago at a time when I think Ocean Pines had just ended one of the more contentious times in its history. I think one of the things that, when I came on the board, that all of the board members at that time, I shared the conviction that we were going to operate with civility and try and make our decisions dispassionately and based upon the facts. And I think to a large extent we've succeeded doing that. I think one of the other things that we realized is that a community attitude towards the board, which was largely negative at that time, the board and management, that one of the best ways that we could try and combat that or to turn that around was through better communications. And I think we've made some reasonable strides in that direction. We've tried to revise the quarterly report to get more information content. We tried to, not tried, with Joe Reynolds' help, a lot of help, created a new webpage with more information content. We opened up our board meetings so that there was an active interchange. You remember when there wasn't? You just get up, talk, and said thank you, and went away. I think there's a lot of ways that we did that. The other thing that this board did, which I think is pertinent to all of the candidates here and should remember, is there was oops, that went out. There is a commitment to get the facts. I mean, to try and go out and get factual information on which to base decisions. Now, some board members were very proactive in going out and doing that on their own. But on the other hand, we also involved the community to a very large extent. I don't know how many working groups we created, but a half a dozen, maybe more at least, of people who gave a lot of time to come up and try and help us get those facts. A food and beverage working group. We have a golf task force. Of course, the 10-year task force. Now, I'm talking about facts. When you talk about a yacht club, it's not just people saying, well, I don't think that it's really all that bad or anything like that. I mean, it's going out and getting engineers and engineering survey companies to come in and to find out what the actual condition is. I'd urge my fellow candidates and all the people in the room to spend time and find out what's going on and find out, what we're doing now and what we have done before we figure out where we're going. And by the way, I'll remind you again, you might want to take a little look at the handout that's up at the front of the table. It's kind of a synopsis, if you will, of what I think we've done in the last 3 years. Got it?
I want to thank you all for attending. You must know by now can't hear this thing there. Got it? I want to thank you all for attending. You must all know now that I'm fairly short spoken. I say what I want to say quickly and quit talking. I have an immediate goal of seeing some amenity costs cut here in golf and aquatics. I do support the notion of a 10-year plan, but I need desperately to see an operating plan that shows how that plan will be funded. That does not exist. I've suggested there may be alternative means to collect assessments, for example, indexing them to property values. I think that's an issue that surely should be looked at. When properties now are paying more than 50% of their assessments are more than 50% of their property tax, and other properties in the Pines, their assessment is only 20%.
of the property tax. There's some great disparity in that. We have a regressive amenity costing system. And with that, I'll close. Thank you for your time, attention. I appreciate it.
When I look around the room, I see an awful lot of familiar faces that are here. There's a lot of ex-directors in the room. And the simple fact is, the core of people here, that are here, are the core of Ocean Pines' goodness and kindness and caring about our community. Because I've seen most of you before at different meetings and the like. The leadership that we've had, especially in this past year, I give Bill Rako kudos because one thing I will say is of all the board members that I've known every year, I have never seen anybody work as many hours and as hard as Bill did over the last 4 or 5 years that he was involved in everything as he has. And I thank Bill for that. His leadership has also spawned an awful lot of good thinking among the current directors. So I just want to do it again because I'm here to do what I can for my community. God love you. Be careful driving home.
Well, it's 3 minutes of 9, and first of all, I'd like everyone to give the candidates a round of applause for job well done. Good job. I want to thank all the residents for attending, and safe journey home, and you can turn on your cell phones so you don't forget. Thank you.